I would like to.
Hi, folks. Welcome to the Marine Mammal Center's Facebook Live for Earth Day. We are so excited to have you join us. We're going to get started in just a moment as people are tuning in, but we have an amazing conversation to share with you about the work that's happening to disentangle seals and really focusing on one of my favorite animals, and I'm sure some of yours, the elephant seal as well. So again, we'll get started in just a couple minutes. We're going to love to take your questions throughout, so please feel free to ask us questions via Facebook, and we'll make sure we'll get to that. My name's Adam Ratner. I'm the Associate Director of Conservation Education at the Marine Mammal Center. So my job is to work with our different teams, our volunteers, our community partners, to really think about how we tell the stories of our seals and sea lions and whales. What are the threats they face out in the ocean, and what can all of us do in our own communities to help take action? And you're going to be able to hear a little bit about that today. So again, please feel free to ask as many questions as you have throughout. We'll make sure we save some time for that. But I also want to introduce two of my colleagues that are going to help tell this story today. So first, we've got Ryan Berger, who's our Associate Director of Field Operations and Response. Welcome, Ryan. Will you tell us a little bit about what your role at the center is?
Yeah, hi, Adam. Great to be here with you, and happy Earth Day to everybody out there. As Adam said, I'm Ryan Berger. I'm the Associate Director of the Field Operations and Response Program. And essentially, my main job responsibilities are to support our response program throughout the 600 miles of its range and make sure the managers that are located in the Northern Range, the Monterey Bay area, and San Luis Obispo can perform their jobs with as little effort as possible. And then to work with the director, who is Kathy George, in strategizing around the future of this response program, and really with the focus on being more effective and efficient moving forward. I've been with the center for around 3 years now, and super happy to be in front of you all today and get to detail with Morgan Clyde the northern elven seal disentanglement that we did a couple months back. So I'm happy to pass it over to Morgan if the time is right.
Yeah, welcome, Morgan. Tell us a little bit about your role at the center.
Of course. Thanks, Ryan. Thanks, Adam. My name is Morgan Clyde. I'm the dispatch manager. Myself and the dispatch and logistics team, we take calls from the public about stranded and injured animals. We turn those calls into responses. We track the data associated with those responses and work with our partner agencies like state parks, or in the case of this video, we're going to say here, the Point Reyes National Seashore.
Excellent. And you two are some of the people that are kind of on the front lines when it comes to rescuing these animals. And we'll be able to talk about some of those stories. But I want to just step back for a moment, because we've been doing a few of these Facebook Lives this week. We get the one actually on Earth Day itself. And the theme is all about kind of restoring our Earth. And I know we're going to talk about elephant seals, and they've got kind of an amazing story. And I know, Ryan, the elephant seal is one of your favorite marine mammals out there. Can you tell us a little bit about the kind of history of the elephant seal? What makes them so special?
Absolutely. And, they're near and dear to my heart, because when I came out to California, I actually researched this specific species out on the Farallon Islands, and they're just magnificent. They're kind of oddball when you think about the other seals and sea lions that are out there. They breed in the winter instead of the summer season like all the other ones. They have extreme adaptations. They're able to dive, thousands of feet below the surface in search of their prey, and stay underwater for, over 2 hours. So I really fell in love with them because they're just such a unique animal. And, the history of their population, approaching near extinction back in the early 1900s from sealing, mostly for their blubber, and only 50 to 100 of them being left in the world, but a real success story in their population numbers rebounding over time. So just, I love them because they're so unique, and, they tested the time of the sealing that was happening back in the day, and were able to rebound population wise. Love these creatures.
Yeah, I mean, they really had come back from the brink of extinction. In a sense, they were less than 100 animals. Now they're 150,000 or so. So it really goes to show what conservation work can happen. Morgan, I know you were going to add something in as well there. Sorry to cut you off.
Oh, just going to mention that it's a great success story for conservation efforts.
And when we think about them being this success story, then, Morgan, obviously one of the things that was a threat to them before was this idea of hunting and sealing. What are the threats they face today, though? Are they kind of in the clear, or are there still some dangers that they face?
Yeah, certainly not in the clear, Ryan. Excuse me, Adam. Two people. Can't keep two people separate. Certainly not in the clear. At the very least, we've got climate change pushing the fish on which they feed further out into the ocean and deeper. This means that the pups that have to go out and teach themselves how to hunt and forage for food, they have to swim that much farther. They have to swim that much deeper. They have to pull that much harder on their fat reserves that they count on to get themselves through to the point when they can feed themselves.
Yeah, and we know that with climate change, kind of as we burn these fossil fuels, coal, oil, methane gas, it's really changing the conditions of the ocean, whether it's the temperature or even things like sea level rise. Ryan, what are some of the other things that you've seen when you've been out on rescues and responses that are threats to these animals?
Yeah, one of the common things that we're starting to see, and is related to the video that we'll watch later, is the entanglement issue. So, a direct cause of human impact in our face. And this is really where we feel responsible for responding, the passion and the inspiration to make a change and use our skill set to help these animals out as often as possible. And a lot of those entanglements can come from ocean trash, discarded fishing gear. And so it's just, really trying to be a steward of our ocean environment and pick up some of that trash behind you.
Yeah, and we're going to talk about lots of ways that people can help and get involved. But you've both been mentioning this kind of response that you were a part of a few weeks back with an elephant seal. And we've got a video that we'll share in a moment. Brian, do you want to kind of cue this up? What's the situation that we're going to see here?
Yeah, Adam, absolutely. So we were actually out doing a little bit of research work with some of our partners at Point Reyes National Seashore. And through that process, one of the lead biologists had let us know that as they were monitoring various populations out there, that they came across an adult female that had a pup, and it appeared to have a packing strap around its neck. And that packing strap did look like it was relatively fresh. It wasn't embedded into the skin or anything yet, but it was certainly tight around that animal's neck. And if we didn't intervene, we know what the end result oftentimes can lead to: severe injury, and unfortunately, if we can't get to it in a timely manner, potential death as well. So it was complicated because these are social animals and they reproduce in a harem. So a lot of other animals around this entangled animal. And she had a pup, which we had to kind of try to determine how old that pup was, because they have a relatively short nursing period where she will wean the pup and leave it behind. So we wanted to make sure we could act with a sense of urgency as well.
Excellent. We're going to have a chance to dive deeper into the elements of this response, but we're going to show you what happened out on the beach here. So take a look at what happened just a few weeks ago with our team out at Point Reyes National Seashore. So you can see that packing strap, a piece of plastic wrapped around the neck there.
And it was pretty tight as well. You could see how it was embedding a little bit.
Oh, it looks like something has happened tech-wise, so we apologize about that. We'll give it just a minute to come back online. This is also something that you'll be able to find on our YouTube channel as well. So we'll make sure we put that link in there after the fact.
And Adam, one thing that I think might be worth sharing here while we sort out our technical difficulties is, in this case, this report came to us through our partners at the Point Reyes National Seashore. But 19 times out of 20, when we at the Marine Mammal Center find out about an animal in need, it's because of the public. So for your folks at home listening, give us a call. We're going to say this number more than once, but 415-289-7325. You guys are our eyes on the beach, and we absolutely count on you to report animals in distress like this one.
Yeah, and Morgan, you described your role to people, but really you're one of those people on the kind of front lines in our dispatch office getting these phone calls. And I know you get sometimes 10,000 phone calls a year around sick and injured animals out on the beach, even more than that at this point. What are some of the things, if someone does see an animal out on the beach, that they should do besides calling us?
Shall I revisit that after we watch this video, Adam?
Sure. Let's give the video a try here.
Perfect.
All right. So again, you've got this this mom, this adult female that was entangled, but she did have a pup. And you're going to see our response team, all trained staff with equipment that we'll walk through, trying to do this life-saving operation. And it goes really quick, but you can see this one cut to be able to break that loop. So an amazing success story to be able to give this, not only the mom, but also the pup, a second chance at life, essentially, since we know that those injuries are so life-threatening. So let's take a step back then. Morgan, we were talking right before the video about the process as people are calling us. Can you walk me through a typical process if someone finds an animal out on the beach? What should they do? How do you then get involved?
Absolutely, yeah. If someone were to see, let's take, for example, that seal, what they should do is give us a call. Our folks in the dispatch and logistics team will ask you for some basic information. We need to figure out where you are. If you're able to provide GPS coordinates, that is the gold standard. But other than that, something that's objective is really helpful. An address, if you can get it, a cross street, stuff like by the big tree is less helpful. Once we narrow down where you are, then we're going to want a couple photos of the animal. And the reason being, these elephant seals haul out sometimes and they're just fine. They just want to rest. So in the interest of wise use of resources, we're going to want to get a photo to see if this is in fact an animal that is in trouble. If it is, we'll then get in touch with the nearest rescue team, be it up here in Sausalito, be it down in Moss Landing or Morro Bay, and they'll pop out, take a look, and we hope we don't have to rescue any given animal, but if the need is there, then that team will execute the rescue.
Yeah, and remind everyone watching at home, what is our response range? So when they're from what area to what area should they be calling the Marine Mammal Center?
All the way from the northernmost end of Mendocino County to the southernmost end of San Luis Obispo County. If you're outside that range, you can still call us. We'll send you to the right folks, but that's the area that we cover.
Excellent. And you see that number up on the screen there, 415-289-SEAL. It's a 24-hour hotline, so you can always let us know. We also have our operations out in Hawaii, and we had a wonderful Facebook Live just yesterday talking a little bit about that. So we've got a different number out there if you see a monk seal. But we really do depend on people like you, if you're out on the beach, if you see an animal, to give us a call. So let's kind of go back into this particular rescue of this elephant seal named Paula. And we know that we had a pup in play here. Ryan, will you kind of walk through what is the typical mom and pup dynamic in that first month of life? How did that play into the timeline and sense of urgency that your team felt when having to respond to this animal?
Absolutely. Yeah, so the breeding season for elephant seals is roughly from the middle of December until the end of March. And these cows will start to trickle into their harems. And shortly after arriving, they'll produce one pup typically. And that pup will stay for about 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks nursing on the mom. And then there's a hard wean where that mom leaves the pup behind and goes back into the ocean to forage on her own. So when we learned of this report, we understood that there was a timeline and that there was some sensitivity in how quickly we needed to react to this situation. And based on having conversations with the biologists that were monitoring this elephant seal in particular in the harem that she was in, we estimated the pup to be around 2 weeks. So at best, we had 1 to 2 weeks left to be able to attempt this. And during the nursing period, the mom and the pup are very closely bonded. They hardly ever leave one another's side, and that mother is super protective of her pup. And she will get really aggressive and defend it at all costs. And so we need to take all that information into the process and the plan and how we're going to approach and successfully disentangle that animal. But there was that sense of urgency because we didn't know exactly when that mom might depart the beach. So we wanted to make sure our plan was in place, it was solid, and that we had multiple options so that we could be successful before she departed.
Yeah, and clearly a massive planning effort goes into doing this type of disentanglement. You have all these other animals around. These are wild animals, but you also have to make this cut on a wild, uncooperative animal in a sense. And I know, Morgan, in the end, you're the one who's trying to make that cut. So what type of equipment are you using? What's going through your head when you're out on the beach ready to make that lunge in a sense?
So the most important thing we've got in that video, and Katie, can we run the video and maybe pause at the point where I'm out there holding the blade? Run it back to the wide shot. Yeah, it doesn't matter. The most important elements to that response was never captured on video, and it is the team of 3 Point Reyes biologists who are keeping a safety overwatch, reading the behavior of the animals and keeping us safe, because those things are thousands of pounds and they will run us over. So that's the most important element. The second thing we used is what Katie just had up on the screen right there. It's a hook knife, and it's kind of hard to describe. There we go. So they are, oh, you can't see me this way. Does that help? They're off screen and they're keeping an eye on the animals. The next thing we've got is a hook knife pictured there, and that is basically just a knife welded onto a blade that attaches then to some carbon fiber poles. What's important to note is it's only sharp on the inside there. All right, the outside of that angle is dull. So if this is the knife, this is the sharp part. And the tip of the knife has a little bit of metal soldered onto the tip. So it is not, if you were to poke yourself with it, it would be pokey. It's sharp enough to slide under an entanglement, but it's not sharp enough to puncture the skin. So those are really the key elements of the response there. As to what's going through my mind, just elation and relief. Just elation that that's an animal that is now going to live. That's a pup that's now going to get to nurse until it's ready to go out and take on the world on its own. And relief. It feels like correcting a giant, horrible mistake that we made that got that thing caught up, and we've just undone it. We found, Ryan, how many packing straps on that beach did we find?
Yeah, unfortunately, as we were walking around, there were at least 5 or 6 more that were laying on the beach. And so totally recognizing the understanding of how we can work towards mitigation and prevention of this in the future. But saving individual lives is super important to reduce suffering as well.
Yeah. And this is the image I was hoping to talk about. This is why the public should absolutely never attempt this on their own. Back off my left shoulder there. I'm the one in the camouflage on the left. Back off my left shoulder there, maybe 30 yards, is the harem master, the bull, who, under different circumstances, will charge and try to expel intruders into their harem. If that happens, we've got to run. I mean, he's 4,000 pounds. We can't take him on. And we were kept safe by having, first of all, Ryan and I watching each other's backs. You can see we're facing each other, so we can see behind each other. But also that team of biologists who not only knows the species, but they know those individual animals. Those are the biologists that survey those particular animals, so know them really, really well. And that's absolutely vital to keeping us safe.
Yeah, and I don't think these pictures are quite doing justice to the size of these animals. So up on the screen here, you see the adult males. So Morgan mentioned the Beachmaster. That's the adult male that's out there. And these guys can weigh up to 5,000 pounds. So that's more than the entire starting lineup of an NFL offense. So this is a huge animal. And you can kind of see with some of these animals in comparison, even the babies are big though. They're born at 75 pounds. They can get up to 300 pounds by 1 month old. So it does take a lot of training to work around these animals. But Morgan, I know you were talking a little bit around this kind of sense of duty, that this is an animal that was entangled in trash. So you felt the sense of relief and kind of satisfaction to be able to help it. And I know other people might have that same feeling if they see an animal out on the beach. Can you kind of walk through, besides just calling us, what should they do so that they can feel empowered to behave the right way in the situation if they see an animal entangled out on the beach?
Absolutely, yeah. In addition to calling us, any sort of, sounds silly, but any sort of perimeter they can make around the animal is great. Be that drawing a line in the sand, maybe putting up some cairns of stones, and just letting other folks know that the best thing for that animal is to just sit tight until we can get there.
And Ryan, I know that sometimes when you've been out on the beaches and doing responses, it's not just people that we want to try and keep away, but also pets. Can you talk a little bit about the dynamic of things like dogs that are out on the beaches? What should people do if they have dogs and they're around seals and sea lions? And what could be some of the consequences of that if they don't kind of act accordingly?
Yeah, and our coast is an amazing coastline, and it attracts a lot of attention. I try to spend as much time out there as possible because it's just so beautiful, and the experiences that you get, and it's a great place to take your dog. And so, just educating yourself on what wildlife is out there, where the dog beaches are, and where you can have your dogs off leash, and if there are rules and regulations in place to keep them on a leash, there are reasons for that, and that's oftentimes because they have the potential to disturb wildlife. And, just reemphasizing that these are wild animals, they are big and they are dangerous, and they do carry diseases such as leptospirosis and others that can be transferred from the wild populations to your domestic dogs. So, we want to make sure that we're being responsible out there as pet owners and knowing where we can let our dogs off leash and not have a disturbance. And, for some of our other seals and sea lions, especially harbor seals, they reproduce in a colony as well, but the parents are very skittish. And so if a dog comes around, it's likely that mom will run into the water and leave its pup behind. And that can be a pretty terrible situation, if that dog decides to react to the pup. So just informing yourself and making sure that you're keeping your distance and that you're respecting this shared ecosystem that we're both trying to enjoy, the seals and the wildlife, as well as the humans.
And it just goes to show that these types of actions not only help save seals and keep seals safe, but it keeps the dogs safe as well, and it keeps people safe from some of these diseases that could be out there in these interactions. And then what is that number again, Morgan? If they see someone, who should they call?
415-289-7325 or 289-SEAL on your keypad.
Excellent. So that's one way that people can obviously make a big difference. And Ryan, you were mentioning that you were seeing other trash out on the beach, though, when you were doing this. So besides just responding to animals that are already sick, what's some of your advice that you'll give people at home that they can take at their schools, at their homes, that can make a difference for these animals when it comes to trash or kind of ocean health as a whole?
Yes, a great point, Adam. And, oftentimes I'll go out to the coast and I'll just take a bag with me and I'll pick up trash while I'm on the beach. So doing your own cleanup, whether it's in your neighborhood where pieces of trash can end up in the water system and then eventually flows out to the ocean, or whether you go out to the beach itself, you can really do a great job by just picking up that trash. And if you are going out to enjoy, making sure that you pack up everything that you bring so that there isn't anything left behind. Educating yourself and being responsible about the type of food that you want to eat and the number of packages that you want. We are all in a global economy at this point, and a lot of our industry is dependent on those packages coming from across the globe. And so just being mindful of where it's coming from, eating sustainable seafood that's caught in a very sustainable way. Those are all great ways to contribute individually to our collective efforts in trying to help this issue.
Excellent. Morgan, anything that comes to mind for you around ways that we can take action in our own lives to help some of these animals?
I mean, I think Ryan kind of stole my thunder there. I'm not sure I can improve on that answer.
That's fair. And if people at home are interested, you can go onto our website. We've got information around things like sustainable seafood that Ryan mentioned, like climate and ocean trash. So all different ways at all different scales that we can take action as individuals, but also in our communities, whether that is our neighborhood, whether that's our business, whether that's our school. And you can see how tangible some of these efforts can be. That packing strap being cut or not getting out into the environment can really be the difference for some of those elephant seals out in the ocean. So with all of this being said, I want to open it up to some of your questions at home for everybody. But as you're kind of taking a quick moment to put things in, I will mention just one other way that if people are interested in helping, today on Earth Day is a great day to do it. We are incredibly fortunate to have one of our board members, Greg Friedman, offering a match for up to $25,000 through Sunday. If you text OCEAN to 41444, that's going to be able to help provide the money and support to give some of our animals a second chance. So whether with those response efforts you've been hearing about, or with our close to 100 animals that are currently at the hospital under our care that are getting lots of sustainably caught seafood. So if you have the opportunity to help, today is a great day to do it due to that matching gift. Now, with that being said, continue to put some questions into the comment box. We've got one here from Natasha, really focused for you, Morgan. The people have just been so impressed with what you did in terms of that cut and the skill to manage that situation. How do you practice that in a sense? What's your training to help you be ready for those types of situations?
Well, first of all, thank you, Natasha. And in the interest of transparency, it's Ryan who's the skillful member here. That was my first disentanglement. But the answer really is practice. And the primary skill involved, and Ryan, I'm going to kick it over to you here in a second since I just teed you up as the true expert here. But the skill involved really was less the manipulating of the knife and more of the being able to read the animal's behavior. Ryan being able to pull that animal's neck off to the side here to expose the entanglement so I could cut it. The skill in reading behavior needed to keep us safe, which I mentioned earlier. That's the primary skill. And my answer is practice, but I'd like to turf it over to Ryan as the real expert here.
Thanks, Morgan. And I'm going to give Morgan a lot of kudos here too. It is not easy to be precise with that hook knife. And so we did do some practice rounds. We actually found those additional packing straps that were on the beach, and we wrapped it around a piece of wood. And that way we could get the feel a couple times of what that might be like in real time. But we also have training and practice outside of that time period as well. But really key to these events being successful is patience, not rushing what you're trying to accomplish, really reading the behavior, sitting back and taking your time to approach so that you have all of your safety concerns out of the way. And Morgan did a great job at communicating, at being focused at the right time. And it was a great team effort as well with our partners that were helping also.
And it clearly shows through that video how successful it was. And to the comment about practice kind of making perfect, unfortunately, it's not our first time having to do that. It's something we've been able to train a lot of folks on and bring all around the world, essentially, in some of these disentanglement efforts that we've been able to do with seals and sea lions. I know, Ryan, you've been doing things with whales for many years to help give them a second chance. But it really is this amazing community, and the Marine Mammal Center trying to serve as this teaching hospital for people to get that experience and to help build that capacity. It looks like we've got a few other questions here as well. Danielle is asking a question of both of you. Do you have a favorite patient that comes to mind that you've helped rescue? Maybe I'll start with you, Morgan.
Yes, absolutely. My favorite patient I helped rescue is now a bit of an international celebrity. His name is Cronut the sea lion. I did not help rescue him the first time he stranded. That was down in San Luis Obispo. We rehabbed him, released him. I did not help rescue him the second time he was rescued. I believe that was at Stinson Beach or Bodega Bay. But I did help rescue him the third time he was rescued when he was a very large male sea lion at this point, kind of an imposing character, and was sitting right in front of one of the bathroom doors at a state park over in Bodega Bay and had folks trapped in the bathroom, unfortunately. He was at that point just too habituated to people. So the rescue was very non-dramatic. He more or less walked right into the carrier. But since that time, he got sent to an amusement park, suffered some seizures, unfortunately, and my understanding, groundbreaking science was done to help cure him of those. And he's become a bit of a national celebrity for that reason.
Yeah, it's really unusual that we have an animal come back a second time or a third time. Less than 3% of all of our animals. And in the case of Krona, fell into this really rare situation, less than 1% of all of our animals, where it's just deemed a healthier life in a sense. The only way that they can kind of continue on is under human care, where we can work with some of our partners at zoos, aquariums, and other groups around the country to give them that second chance. And that's really the best thing for them. And they continue to be these ambassadors for their species and for ocean health for years to come. Ryan, what about you?
I don't think I can beat Morgan's. He has a good one for sure. But I guess my attention gets drawn towards Snaggle, who's a Guadalupe fur seal. And I highlight that because Guadalupe fur seals, their population numbers are a bit lower. And so saving those individuals and making sure that they can contribute to the future of that population is really important. But he had come in with some netting around the neck, and was a pretty simple rescue, but just the effect of knowing that their population numbers are low, and being able to get this animal the care that it needed and back out into the wild was it makes you feel good for sure.
Yeah, without a doubt. And being able to help, elephant seals are a great success story coming back from the brink of extinction. Guadalupe fur seal still threatened. So a chance to give them a similar opportunity getting back out to the wild. It looks like we've got a few other questions here before we wrap up. Olivia's asking, can people get involved with the Marine Mammal Center's rescue and response team?
Yeah, great question, Olivia. And absolutely, anybody that's tuning in, you can get involved with rescue and response here at the Marine Mammal Center. And what I would recommend is to visit our website. And there's actually a link that says get involved, and it'll take you to the volunteer page, and it'll tell you the steps that are involved with that. So there is a process, there's an orientation, an onboarding process, and then we go through some initial training to get you up to speed with what our protocols and procedures are. And then after that and some hands-on training, you're able to get out there and assist us with our mission. So thank you very much for asking that.
Yeah, and it really is volunteers that are doing a lot of our responses and rescues. We've got 1,300 volunteers total that support us starting at age 15 on up. So something to keep in mind, at the moment, we're not recruiting new volunteers quite yet because of the pandemic, but I encourage you to keep a lookout on our website. You can actually sign up to be notified as well. Again, that's marinemammalcenter.org/volunteer if you're interested in getting involved. And then it looks like we've got maybe one more question, or time for one more question. Katie's asking, how much does it cost to feed elephant seals because they're so big? And I know that right now I volunteer every Thursday night helping to take care of the animals, and we can go through close to 1,000 pounds of sustainably caught fish in a single day during the busiest time of the year. So it is a huge amount of fish that we're going through. And this is also one of the things that requires some of the most amount of money that the Marine Mammal Center uses. So every basically dollar pays for 1 pound of fish. But with some of these guys, they require a lot of food. Not only do we need to fatten them up, we actually need to teach them how to eat fish for these baby elephant seals. And you can see lots of different resources and photos of what that fish school process is like on our YouTube channel or on our website. So I definitely encourage you to take a look at that. But that's where a lot of your money is going if you're able to donate. As a nonprofit, we depend on your support. And again, for Earth Day, we've got a great opportunity here. If you are able to contribute, one of our board members, Greg Freeman, is willing to match up to $25,000 worth of donations. So if you text OCEAN to 41444, you're able to help buy some of that food for the elephant seals that we have at the hospital right now. And I know that they will really, really appreciate it. So with that, I want to just say thank you again so much for Morgan and Ryan joining me today, sharing their story with all of you. Thank you for everyone for tuning in and asking your questions. And please do keep an eye on our Facebook channel, on our website. We've got a lot of upcoming events, including another Facebook Live tomorrow, where we're going to be talking all about whales in San Francisco Bay. And then if you are a high school student, know high school students, we've got an amazing event aimed at them, our Stewardship Saturday, coming up on April 24th, where we are going to highlight some of these conservation action projects that some of our youth students have been able to do. So I encourage you to take advantage of that and tune in. And you can always learn more on our website, marinemammalcenter.org. So with that, thank you again so very much for everyone joining. Thank you, Morgan. Thank you, Ryan. I hope you all have an amazing Earth Day, and thank you for all the support of the Marine Mammal Center that you've already given and everything moving forward in terms of creating a healthy ocean for seals and people alike. Thanks, everybody. Take care.